So my focus is, how do we, and we use the term tweak and fortify. How can I take an existing text and tweak how I use it so it's more powerful? How can I add to it? What changes can I make? I'm going to start with, and some of you have heard me speak before will have heard this, not a big fan of Bloom's taxonomy. That's heresy at OASE in many cases, because my students will come in and say, oh yeah, we have to create more on Bloom. And I say, well, I'm not a big fan. Let me tell you why. By the way, I was particularly frustrated when someone posted Bloom's digital taxonomy and simply took all the digital terms and started to align them to Bloom's taxonomy. I'm going to give you an example. Social networking, by the way, Bloom uses low and high order thinking. Okay? So low order, we would argue, actually is not thinking at all. It's mindless. It's copying notes off a board. There's no frontal lobe activity. It's just rote. Social networking was low order thinking. Is that a concern for anyone else? Social networking is low order thinking. Don't kids need to be careful about what they post? Doesn't that require some thinking? Bookmarking, highlighting were listed as low order thinking. How do you decide what to bookmark if you're not making some judgments about the validity or usefulness of the source? That is a thinking opportunity. By the way, I can tell you I went through everything on the list, and I could show you, I realigned them all to 6 prompts for thinking. There's not a thing on that digital taxonomy that isn't an invitation to think if we teach it right. And I sent back a tweet saying, isn't it time we get past a 1950s conception in a digital world? Maybe it's time we rethink. Let me tell you why I have this concern with Bloom. By the way, I like Bloom in terms of that's an evaluative question, that's a recall question. I'm okay with that. But we've tended to use Bloom as a pedagogical frame. By the way, I'm not saying Bloom intended that way, but we've used it that way. Look at our achievement chart. We put knowledge and understanding separate from thinking. Can anyone in the room tell me how you demonstrate understanding in the absence of thinking? Because I don't know how you do that. Understanding requires thinking. How do you communicate effectively without thinking about purpose and audience? Teachers for years have said to me, I don't really think I get the difference between application and thinking. Thinking is the quality of the work we want. Okay? Whether it's how you communicate it, how you apply it, how you demonstrate understanding, thinking should cut across all of those. Right? In fact, if it were up to me, I would take thinking out, and I'd make it the difference between level 4 and level 1. That at a high end, you demonstrate deep, rich thinking in all these areas. Let me give you another quick example, just as a caution. Grade 10 history. I can tell you the grade 10 new 2013 history curriculum, the overall expectations for the grade 10 history academic are describe, analyze, evaluate, describe, assess, analyze, and so on. The overall expectations for the applied course, every single one is describe. You see a problem with that. We're saying that our applied kids just need to be able to describe, they don't need to assess and evaluate. I want to say to you, thinking should be the foundation for every child in our schools. It's not what we do with our more academic. We need to get past this. And by the way, why have I used this term knowledge hierarchy? I think often schools are knowledge hierarchies. How many kids believe if it's in a textbook, it's true? If the teacher tells me this in a lesson, it must be true. By the way, when we show movies in our class, how many times are worksheets given out to fill in information, find the information in the video, not challenge the video? Notice what I was doing with Pocahontas. I want to problematize it. Any movie you show in my class should have a way that it's engaged kids in thinking about it. Textbooks should be problematized. My lesson, everything should be an invitation for kids to create knowledge networks. Let's explore, let's challenge, let's wonder by putting provocations at the core of learning and then engaging kids rather than a hierarchical structure, allowing kids to reflect on what they know and share that, or perhaps reflect and begin to some investigation and then share. It's a much more dynamic, organic process with provocations driving the learning and us guiding kids in that. So, by the way, one other piece on this I wanted to bring up here. I love David Weinberg. If you have a chance to read, David Weinberger wrote a book called Too Big to Know. And his premise is that there's so much information in the world today, no one person can be an expert. Loved his subtitle, that the smartest person in the room is the room. I think yesterday the fact that Tony spoke to you without physically being in the room speaks to David Weinberger's point. That when we have problems to solve, we have issues to deal with, Putting our kids together is a far more powerful way to learn, and it's not limited by these four walls. The room, as he talks about, it could be virtual or not. How do we come together? I don't know if any of your schools, do any of you know Worldviews, the website Worldviews? Let me just tell you real quick. Julia Coburn out in Kitchener-Waterloo created this website called Worldviews, free for schools to sign up. Her goal was to get kids around the world talking to each other. So by the way, Worldviews is world, then V-U-Z-E, all one word, worldviews.com. Your school signs up, your kids are invited to post questions. Kids around the world who are involved respond to those questions. Grade 2 class, learning about clean water, assumed that in Africa, the big challenge is finding clean water. They posted some questions, and the grade 2s in Tanzania wrote back, no, it's not. It's the wild animals we have to worry about when we go to get the clean water. That's our big challenge. The grade 2s in Canada, we didn't think of that, but it creates a dialogue. The kids start to post questions, they learn from other kids around the world. Wonderful example of creating a knowledge network. Rather than thinking I'm going to find truth in a book, I'm going to explore, I wonder if what we found fits with what we hear from others.